so in the beginning I do a brief introduction and then it's more like a conversation.
Can I cross my leg? Will you see that? Well, you just say, yeah, I'll move.
Normally it's head and shoulders or the height of the,
Well, it depends,
the shut up.
because we have everything else on here, so.
Okay, I will, no.
It's up to Carol's discretion whether I can
It's
do.
okay, we're fine.
You
Okay.
normally just do head and shoulders, but let's do
Okay.
the easel as low as that easel is because we need to get all of that.
Okay.
And now, is that low enough for
well,
you to
I'm
be
not-
able to reference? And you were in the lower part of the map, so it's good.
Well, then Carol, you
I'm
could
easy.
come and take a picture, we'll look at the picture, how you want it. If you want something like that, or do you want to?
No, we're not going to look at the map until he starts talking
Okay.
about where he was. Can you zoom in?
Oh, here, I'll move in.
So who's gonna play me in the movie?
I think Jack should.
Tom Cruise.
Yeah, Charlie Sheen too old, drinks too much.
Yeah.
I don't like this part here. Perfect. Love it. Thank you.
Oh, let me bring it down more.
Yeah, the Library of Congress doesn't like when you zoom during an interview, but
Okay.
if you pan over, it's fine. If you need to do a timeout or anything, just give a little timeout sign below the, here, it would be below the area. I'll put down here.
Yeah.
Did you want to look at the research? Are you going to have any questions?
Fine.
for
Oh,
Jack?
I wasn't sure
Not
if
supposed to be
I
known.
could or not, but
You
We're-
can. Do you
Can't
wanna
say that we
sit
went
here
into
or sit
Cambodia.
over
that's,
here?
that's alright.
I think that's pretty well known now.
Yeah, I think it is very well known now. Yeah, we never run Cambodia, baloney.
Yeah, that was even in platoon they referenced that.
Sure, absolutely.
25th Infantry was over there.
That's right. 25th, they were in Kuchi.
Does everyone have their phone turned off or
Adele, you got the
silent?
phone?
All right.
Mine is.
All I can find is bench.
You don't have to turn it off, just turn it down. I turned mine
I found
down.
my toe, but
I'm pretty sure.
You got your toe, your big toe?
Yeah, I'm wondering if I need to angle. Well, whatever. Well,
You have a chair too.
no, I'm saying if I have to angle, if I have to have it from going this way.
Oh,
I think-
normally
Do you want it head
it's
on?
not so much space above his head.
Don't make any faces over there, Adele. I know you heard these stories before.
Do you want to sit behind Andrew so he can't see you as well?
oh, you want me to sit where?
Sit where your husband
Oh,
can't
well, I
see
think
you.
No,
he was just joking.
I kid. I'm okay.
Unless you want him to look in a certain direction.
Yeah, I do. I want him to look closer to the camera. So if he's looking all the way over there, that's good.
You tell
Did you
me.
guys all meet? This is Andrew.
Hi.
And that's Jack.
Yes.
And that's Joe.
Yes. They live in Lebanon.
Okay, ready?
We're Lebanese.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are the
Tell me.
glasses all right? There's no glare, right?
No.
Can you hear me? Yep.
Yeah. Well, let me do playback. Just make sure that the live mic is
If
working.
you can't hear me, are you able to turn off the camera if I have to repeat the question?
So do you need to have the question on the interview? Because mostly the lab mic will only pick up what he's saying.
Oh, okay.
Do you need the questions on there?
No.
Okay.
I just said that because I don't want
Okay.
a question
Here,
repeated.
let me. All right, should be good.
Oh, your ear is not getting crushed.
That's all right. It'll be good.
All right,
It'll be
ready?
good.
Do a countdown, Andrew.
No, well, just
clap thing.
no, just do we already basically walked into it as if it's a normal conversation. So
Yes.
you can just introduce yourself as to the oral history program and all the admin
Right.
data. You can make sure he spells out his name for the interviewing purposes. We date it and
Right.
yeah, so all that stuff.
We are at the Regional Training Institute in Cedar, New Jersey, representing the National Guard Militia Museum's Center for U.S. War Veterans Oral Histories. I am Carol Fowler, the director of the center. Sergeant Andrew Walker is the museum curator, and summer intern Jack Chinnery is here from Seton Hall University. Our honored veteran is Joseph Eggert, Eggert, who served with the United States Army in the Vietnam War as a combat medic. He served from October of 1965 until August of 1967 and was with the 196th Light Infantry Brigade, 5th of the 60th, 9th Infantry Division. Today is August 12th, 2021. Thank you for wanting to share your story with us here today. Your eyewitness account is considered a primary historical source and a valuable contribution to our project. And good afternoon, Joe, and welcome.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
You signed up through the museum website. How had you heard about the project?
I guess through your website, I was, going through the computer, I saw the museum, and we started coming down here, to be honest with you, to use the beach. I've got to be very honest, because COVID hit, and we like to come down to the Jersey Shore. And then somebody said that there's a nice beach here at the base, and that I could get it through my, military and all. So we started coming here, and then we saw the museum, and we were hoping to get into the older museum, because that's where all the vehicles were, and we brought my grandson down here. And then I went on the website and found out about the oral history, and now here we are.
Had anyone in your family served before you?
No, my father didn't. He worked in a plant, not a plant, in a machine shop. That was, according to him, was doing something for the war effort. My brother was burned at the time, and he couldn't get drafted because he suffered severe burns. So that was me.
You had been working as a lab technician?
Yes, I was working as a lab technician for Exxon. No, it wasn't Exxon. It was before that, for a company called, I think, called Celanese Research. And I lived in Newark, New Jersey. And at the time, the Vietnam War was going on. And I just said, I just wait my time. I didn't want to join. And when you join the service, that was 4 years. If you get drafted, it was 2 years. So I figured I'll just take my chances. And then one day in October 1965, the letter came, and my life changed.
You were 19 years old.
19.
How did your family feel about you serving?
They really didn't express a lot of feeling. My mother, she really never, got emotional over it and all. It was just one of these things you did. So I went down to 1040 Broad Street in Newark, which was the big induction center, and there I went on October 18th, and it was crowded. The government was drafting, and they went into Newark, and they just drafted so many people from Newark, and that started my trip. I was drafted. They sent us to Fort Dix for 1 day, just to get uniforms, and then next we all were on buses going to a place called Fort Devens, Massachusetts. Fort Devens used to be a ASA post, an Army security post, and still is. And it was an old base that they reopened for, I guess, for Vietnam. So 4,000 of us went up there and started training for the United States Army, and we did basic training in Fort Devens, Massachusetts. It was okay. You did what you had to do. And after basic training, I never forget, I went home, did your obligatory leave, and saw the family, and now I went back for the second part, which is called usually Advanced Infantry Training, AIT. And what changed me was after you come back, you look for your name on a board and what school you're going to. Usually 99% was going into Advanced Infantry Training. Others were going to various jobs, and next to my name, it said medical. So here we go. So I, had no idea why they picked me. So we went to medical school in Fort Devens. First of all, I said, well, if I'm going to medical school, we'll probably go to Fort Sam Houston because that's where the Army Medical School was. So I said, at least I get to see Texas. Well, they had a different idea. They're going to do all their medical training up at Fort Devens. So I did my medical training at Fort Devens, then Boston Army Hospital, Army Hospital, we did training. And then after that, we were assigned to, I was working the dispensary at Fort Devens. And it was actually a fun job. I had my own Jeep. Things were going well. And next we get orders to start taking our equipment and putting them on 2 ships in Boston Harbor called the Patch and the Derby. So we took all our medical supplies, the tents, the equipment, and loaded up the ships. I come home, and the word was that we were going to go and relieve the 82nd Airborne that was sitting in, waiting for a rotation out of Dominican Republic. We got a list of things that you could take with us: sneakers, guitars. So I tell my mother, Mom, not to worry. I'm going to a Caribbean type of atmosphere. And then next to last day before I had to go report back to Devens, I see on the news that I don't know if the Prime Minister or whoever was running Dominican said all U.S. troops out. He didn't want any more U.S. intervention. So we're all sitting in there with 2 ships loaded, ready to go, trained troops, so they say. And they call us all into this big meeting, and we all knew something's going to happen, and sure enough, they changed her. So the guys were like running off the base. They were just scattering, trying to, regroup, come back. So next thing you know, there was 2,000 of us on each ship, Patch and the Derby. They were old transports. One old sergeant actually said he thought he was on the same boat going into World War II, probably. So we went over to Vietnam. It took us 30 days to go through the Panama Canal. And the Army, in its infinite wisdom, said, okay, we're going to stop at Long Beach, California for a day to refuel and all of that. And they let 4,000 guys go to this Navy base. Think about it. 4,000 guys going to a Navy base for a day knowing they're going to Vietnam. Chaos to no end. They were bringing them up the gangplank, drunk, hanging on, saying, what are you going to do to me? Send me to Vietnam. Yeah. So it was kind of funny. So we landed in a French resort called Vong Tau. It was supposed to be, in its day, was the place for the French. They loved it there. It was right on the water.
Could you show us?
Vong Tau is, where's my glasses? Somewhere. You just saw it too, didn't you?
It's, move left a little.
My left down here.
It's
There's right here. There's Vong Tau. There's Saigon, and there's Tay Ninh. We landed here and got immediately on helicopters and flew to here, Tay Ninh, which was a old tapioca field at the base of a very large mountain called Nu Ba Din, Black Virgin Mountain. That always was in the background.
Do you know how to spell that?
No.
Nu Ba Din?
Nu Ba Din. It's you could Google it today and still find pictures of it. It's quite pretty. So we proceeded to build our base camp, and it turned out to be an extremely large base camp. I was with the 8th Medical Support. We supported the 196th Brigade. So we set up hospital there, hospital tents, and we were there about 3 days and immediately started getting mortared. That in 3 days we couldn't even finish building the fort, and they were starting to mortar in on us. But we overcame that, and so for 6 months I spent working in the hospital, handling various casualties as they came in, mass casualty. And it got to be, how do I say this, not enjoyable, satisfying.
Gratifying?
Yeah. So over there wasn't like a MASH picture, like the MASH hospital. We had like 6, maybe 5, 6, 7 litters per doctor. So a litter stand, it's a stand. They would bring in the casualties during a mass casualty. They would bring them in like a train, we called it. and they would drop a litter in front of you, and a litter in front of you. And then the doctor would just come down and tell you what to do, what to do, what to do. Debride the skin, remove the bullet, stop, all of that. So that went on for quite a while with me, and you know, it became routine. One of our worst days was in November.
66?
Yeah, November '66, when we were building the base camp. We tried to be benevolent to the local town, so we would hire the local people to come in and help us fill sandbags, to build ooches. So they would wait outside the gate, and then they would have people to escort them in and do that. Well, in the Army, or our infinite wisdom, they didn't realize that in there were people that were sympathetic to the Viet Cong, that were actually mapping out in their mind and footsteps the base. So when they left, they had a whole picture of the whole base on paper. They knew exactly where our helicopters were, the medevacs, where the in a light infantry brigade, the definition of a light infantry brigade is nothing heavier than 105 millimeter. That's all we had. That was the heaviest weapon that we had, was 105 millimeter howitzer. So they knew where the 105s were kept, everything. They had a map. And then one night in November, it rained mortars. So they attacked our base and hit the hospital. They hit the helicopters. They hit amazing accuracy because they knew where they were going. And the Viet Cong on an attack mode would use what they call knee mortars. A knee mortar is a small mortar. Stick it in the ground, hold it up. They could put in the air 3-4 rounds quickly and start running before the first one hits. So if you coordinate a fair amount of these and say, okay, at a certain time, everybody starts, you know, it would just rain in mortars, and they were coming down like crazy around us. And so that was really pretty, you know, we call it terrifying, because we were all over the place. And I stayed to the end to be airlifted out to Cu Chi, which is home of the 25th, which is a very large base camp, and we were attached to the 25th Infantry Mercantile Division. So that was my time in Tay Ninh. It was, I don't say okay, it was what we did. But then the deciding day for me was when they called me in, somewhere around December. The old man calls me in and said, Doc, there's a chopper on the pad, get on it. And I go, why, where am I going? He says, you're going down to the 9th Infantry. I says, why? He said, well, because they lost all their medics and they need more. I went, great pep talk, thank you. So for some reason, I got chosen to go to the 9th, and I flew into the 9th Infantry, and I got attached to the 5th Battalion, 60th, mechanized, and that was with armored personnel carriers. I think they were 114s, and we were down in the Mekong Delta. And
First show us Tay Ninh.
here's okay, well, yeah, we came from there. Here's Tay Ninh, right on the Cambodian border.
Right.
And going back to that story of Tay Ninh, people say that, you know, we were never into Cambodia. Well, that's false. We were definitely in Cambodia. We took missions into Cambodia. So that was kind of a little misnomer there. So from there, I came into a place called Mai To. And now, if you ever, the Mekong Delta is a terrible place. It's rivers, swamps. It's a terrible jungle. That's all I can say. And now we're on what we call armored personnel carriers, which are, you know, almost a tank, but they're not. They have a 50 caliber on the front, a 30 on each side. So I climbed aboard, and I was with this platoon, and they were pretty tough guys. So I said, okay, I'm here, I'm your new medic, and they were like eyeing me up. And so he said, listen, Doc, when the proverbial poop hits the fan, you go down below. I go, what do you mean? He said, no, well, first of all, you don't ride inside with the door closed. That's, you lose your legs. And the whole floor of the van, of the APC is covered with ammunition and food. So you're standing on boxes of ammunition for the 30 caliber and the 50 caliber, then all of our rations. So you're standing halfway up out of the square. My job, I sat right behind the driver when we were going through the jungle. His head was right in front of me, I sat there. When you got into a firefight, I was told to jump down below and start throwing ammo as fast as I can until they need me. So I go, okay, sounds, you know, not too bad. So that was our mission, and that's what we did. We went through the jungles, and I said to him, hey, where are we going? He goes, oh, don't worry, we're going to go out for a little ride. And all right, well, that ride, the first ride I went on was like 14 days. I didn't know. I thought he was going to go out and turn around and come back, but no. That was a 14-day ride. And then at that ride, that one was my baptism of fire, we'll call it there. We were going down with a couple of other tracks, and there was an opening, can't forget it, was an opening down there. And in the corner of the opening was a couple of Viet Cong with a machine gun, and they start shooting at us. So our group just stops. We freeze. All of a sudden I hear the radio going on and on and on. It says, okay, we're going to do a woodline charge in 5. So I go, this ain't good. So I'm there. All of a sudden they count down. All of a sudden all the tracks do a 90-degree turn, just like the movies. And he goes, charge. Now comes a bugle, just like the movie. I'm going, are you kidding me? No, I realized I was in a base camp prior 6 months taking care of wounded, but I was never out in the bush like this. And now I'm like, holy moly. So we go in there, we form a U, and they're just firing like unbelievable. They're firing like crazy. And this is true. I'm down below, and I hear over the radio, Lieutenant Sit. I go, oh boy. Lieutenant Sit, he's on the track to the side of us, up front. Doc, we need you. So I get my bag, got it on, and the guy says, okay, where are we going? Where am I going? He goes, track over there. I said, okay, bring me over there. I goes, no, Doc, we don't do that. We got to stay in the ground. So in the Army, if you're a medic, you can't turn your back. You do what you got to do. So I put my hand on my helmet, jumped off, landed in mush. I looked up, and I saw the track, and I yelled to my guys, tell them to drop the trim. The back of an APC comes down. So I said, lower that down, because I'm going to run right in, because that's where he was. Meanwhile, these guys see me, and they're shooting at me now. And it was just, I swear, it was just like the movies. I'm running, and I could see behind me, because I looked slightly, and I could see the dirt kicking up behind me. I'm like, oh my God. So I go running in, and I go into the track. And the lieutenant got hit pretty bad. And the worst part of this story is that we carry plasma in cans strapped to my strap. And I went to give him plasma, and the can was empty. And I couldn't give him plasma because I had none. And so I stopped his bleeding. I think I gave him morphine. When you give a man morphine, you always paint his forehead red with a M so that he doesn't get a double hit of morphine at the hospital where he's going. So then everybody dismounted, everybody goes dismount, and we go into the jungle chasing these guys. So now we're running through a dried up riverbed. And fortunately, as a medic, for me, I could walk anywhere in the line I want. You know, most men had, well, you got the point, and you got all the guys, but usually the old man would be in the back, and he wanted me with him. So I'd say, okay, so I walked with the old man. Now I'm new to the outfit, nervous, because, you know, you want to show them why you're there to save their lives. So we're in the dried up riverbed, and we're going across, chasing these guys, and then he said, okay, everybody get out of the bed, we're going into the jungle more, because that's where they went. And everybody's getting out, and I somehow got to be last, and I got stuck in the mud, and I couldn't get out. I was up to beyond my knees You know, I didn't want to yell help because God here, they'll think of me. So I'm there and I'm pulling my leg out. And these guys, the Viet Cong, ran into a straw house. I could see it way down there. He spots me again. This guy liked me. He starts shooting again at me, and I heard the bullet go by my head. So I'm like, are you kidding? That time I just fell in the mud, flat down to get below the ravine, and then I started yelling help. So they came back, pulled me out of the mud, and of course we called an airstrike, lit up the whole ground, and so that was my, I would say, baptism of fire. It's a true story. And then from now on, we would go into search and destroy missions. That was what we did. And then we'd go into ambush. The other thing is we would go on ambush patrol every night. He'd pick 5 guys and rotate 5 guys and go out on ambush patrol. In Vietnam, it was an unwritten rule, or maybe it was written, that after dark, anything that moved was fair game to kill. So the locals would never come out at night for their own safety. So we had a license to kill, per se, anything that moved after dark. And our favorite place was a cemetery. Think about it. We would go and stay in the cemetery all night. And I used to sleep with a headstone and wait for them to find something to shoot. So we used to do that every night. So I went to the old man and I just said, something ain't right here. You're rotating the guys, but I'm the only medic and I'm going out with every night. I said, you know, I'm not, yes I am complaining a little bit, but I said, this is, you know, so he goes, I don't know, Doc, I just, they won't go out without you. So I understood that, but he said, what you do is go out and sleep. I said, yeah, I'm sleeping in the cemetery. He goes, well, you know. So I used to sleep in the cemetery amongst headstones, and you used to wait to see anybody would walk by, and they would pounce and do what they had to do. So that was my nights and days, would go out on missions and all. So I spent 6 months with the 5th Battalion, 60th Infantry of the 9th. Strong guys, very brave men. I flew dust off when they needed to, and that was, that's another story of dust off. You want adrenaline, you fly dust off. They are the bravest people in the world, in my mind. They were short medics on the dust off, and I said, I volunteered. That's how smart I am. So I volunteered to go on the dust off a couple times, meaning I was the medic to keep whoever was wounded alive to bring the helicopter back. And you're on a dust off. You're going into a hot zone that's hot, because that's where the firefights are. And they're calling for you to come down and get this guy and bring him out. So the first order of the day is, okay, now you're going to throw smoke to identify that it's really, the place is ours, because the Viet Cong would love to see you land somewhere else. So immediately the first thing is throwing smoke, identify the smoke, purple, yellow, whatever, and then you come in. And then you come down and you're coming into a hot firing area, and you got seconds on the ground, because they're trying to shoot that bird down bad, and she's on the ground. She's the captain and the co-pilot, the pilot and the co-pilot, they want out. I mean, they're landing and they're sitting there ready to go. They bring, all of a sudden, the ground guys, the ground medic would come over, literally throw the wounded person in, and then yell, go, 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 and then we take off. And then once you're up in the air, it's like, whew, it's a breath of fresh air. The air coming down from the wash just makes you feel better. And now my job was to maintain his life, just to keep him alive till to the hospital. That was my job. Not to do any bullet removals, nothing to do that, just to keep him alive. Whether it be to stop a sucking chest wound or whatever we do. But you want to talk adrenaline, that is the most adrenaline I've ever felt in my life doing a dust off. It's amazing people there. So I did that, and I was with the armored personnel carrier guys 6 months, and then I was talking to my wife on the way down, and the biggest morale booster in my life in Vietnam was I knew the day, if I was alive, I was coming home. Think about it. In Vietnam, you knew the day if you were alive, you come home. And I was telling my wife, think about World War II, guys. Years they were there. I'm there for 1 year, 1 year. So that's when they came up with the famous short timer calendar. Have you ever heard of a short timer's calendar? It was a picture usually of a naked lady that were army men. And parts of her, segments of her body were all numbered. When, you know, countdown, you color them in every day. That's called the short timer's calendar. They're out there. I won't get into the graphics. But you color in, and then you go down to 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then it was your way of saying, okay, I'm through. So I knew I was supposed to come home. Well, I made it to my time. And then the Army was offering a 90-day early out of the Army. If you got discharged at Fort Dix or wherever, you get 90 days, and less than 90 days you go home. You don't have to spend 90 days in an Army camp. It just wasn't, you know, they didn't know why. They just said, oh. So I said, oh my God, 90 days and out. So I go down to the processing area. I said, okay, I'm coming home. And they go, okay, Joe, you got 97 days. You're going to go to Fort Dix. I said, I can go to Fort Dix. I want to go home. You got 97 days. So the guy goes, you can stay here 7 more days if you want, and then go home. So I go, you're kidding. So I said, let me think about it. So I went back to the old man, and I said, hey, because I was in base camp, it was Medcap. And I said, if I stay for 7 extra days, are you going to send me out any more missions? He goes, I wouldn't do that. So the old man said, yeah, you stay in the base camp, you 7 extra days, and chill out. So I went back down again, and now I came down to exactly 90 days, and I went down, and I said, okay, I'm going to take my plane home. Now, all my time in Vietnam, all the stories were, yeah, you go to California, they give you a ton of back pay, and that was my dream was go to California, get back pay, and just bum across the country, and just chill out from Vietnam. Well, the day, they said, okay, we got one flight leaving, it leaves tomorrow, the day, and it's going to McGuire Air Force Base. I go, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? McGuire Air Force Base, I want to go to California. He goes, well, we don't have anything leaving for there. And I said, I ain't testing fate and going for another day. So I took that, and the plane went up to Japan, stopped there for fuel, went to Anchorage, stopped for fuel because we went over the polar, and then we landed in McGuire. So I said, and then, so it's a Friday, and they said, okay, man, and then you can't go anywhere until all of our civilian employees are leaving to process you out, so you're going to have to stay here for the weekend. I go, you kidding me? Are you kidding me? So I walked right out the main gate. I walked out the main gate, and I proceeded to work my way up and went home and stayed home for the weekend, everybody, you know, and then I borrowed a car, I think it was, and I went down and processed out. So that was my tour of duty, as they say. It was exciting. What else can I say?
How was your welcome home?
There was none. There was no such thing as a welcome home. If you want to ask, so I said I got to do something with my life. So I said I want to go to college on a GI Bill. I think it's now Union University or something. It's in Cranford, New Jersey. So I go there now. Obviously, I'm kind of the older student there. And this is God's honest true story. I'm in a poli-science class or whatever it was, and we're sitting in this large, it's almost like a gymnasium, large amount of class, and I'm sitting in the back, minding my own business, and this professor with a beard, he's going on, and he goes, oh, by the way, Mr. Eggert. I go, yeah, can you stand up and tell him how you killed babies? Yeah. how you burn villages and kill babies. I go, excuse me? And the whole class is looking at me, and I said, I have to walk out. I mean, that's a true story. That's how bad it was when I came home. The college professor berated me, so I never went back. I never went back. You never wore a uniform in the airport when you came home. You never did that. You always, I mean, you look at your head and they see your buzz cuts, but you never, ever talked about being home. Never.
But eventually you did.
It comes out. And then now in my life, I tie up with a group of veterans. And that's the best catharsis there is, you know. That's, you know, you don't really talk about war stories, but everybody knows, you know, they've been in there, most of the Vietnam vets, and I'm at the Military Order of the Purple Hearts. We don't sit around and talk, we don't talk about the war, but, you know, we have it's really the fun is against the jarheads, the Marines and the Army, you know, we do the light bantering. Once in a while a war story comes out, but there's like an unwritten rule about when you're with a bunch of veterans. So that's really was where you can find some solace. You can talk about it amongst your friends. So that's really how it really goes. I find it easier to talk about it now, but then sometimes it does choke me up.
What other benefits were you able to pursue with your GI Bill?
Well, I do go to the VA at Lyons for certain medical things, so yeah, I do that. The VA has been there if you need them, so I'm not a person that runs to the VA every 10 minutes, but they are there. They have helped me in various ways, so I do that. But I never went and finished my 4-year degree, no.
What about a mortgage for your house?
No, I never took advantage. Well, no, I did. I see my back there.
That's good.
I was single. That's a true story, yes. And I was I was in an apartment, and I wanted to buy a small house. And I looked at one. It was in Rowan, New Jersey. And it was half a duplex. It was the cutest little place. And at the time, I think it was, are you ready? $29,000 or something like that. And the agent I was with, he goes, I said, oh, I just, you know, I can tell. He goes, you told me you were in the service. I go, yeah. He goes, you got $500? I go, yeah. He said, you just bought that house. So I bought it for $500. So I did, yes, you're right. So,
Congratulations.
yeah, that was it. Then it snowballed up, and we took advantage of that. But yeah, it's true. So I did the GI Bill.
Sometimes when a veteran joins a veteran group, they get advice on how to pursue counseling or therapy through the VA.
Yeah, so I went to, I did PTSD groups at veterans at VA for a while, sure.
That's good.
I did that, yeah. So, and there's other benefits that they offer you. And hearing aids, I have tinnitus. That's because I was about 4 inches from a .50 caliber machine gun on the track, and I didn't know he was going to shoot. And when that thing started going off, I actually I fell off the track. It gave me, I have tinnitus, as we speak now, I have tinnitus. But you can learn to live with it. There's no cure for tinnitus. Funny story about a .50 cal. I was never a heavy kid. In fact, I think when I got drafted, he says, congratulations, you made it by a pound or 3. Or I said, give me a couple of days, I'll be right back. I could take care of it. So I was not the biggest guy. And on the APC, we had a .50 cal and 2 30s. And the .50 cal, the cock of .50 caliber, it's got like a wooden handle. And you got to yank that back. I could never do that. I'm there like leaning, just while we were at base camp. Well, we were on the track, and all of a sudden we started coming under fire. And all the guys jumped off the track and left me on the track. I go, thanks. All of a sudden they're yelling up. They're pinned down on the front. I'm in the track. Like, Doc, get the 50, lay some ground fire. We need you. So I go, oh shoot. Well, I tell you what adrenaline can do. I pull that thing back so fast. I would hear it, just yanked it back. It surprised me I did that. And next thing I knew, I just took the 50 and I'm just shooting. I must have cut more grass, but I'm just shooting, giving them support. But that's, up to then, I couldn't do it. That 50 required a little beef. But when you're under fire and adrenaline goes, you can do anything. So that's another one. But yeah, I did get tinnitus from my tour in Vietnam. And I got a Purple Heart because I had a Chinese mortar laying next to me. And that's when Tay Ninh became under fire. I was running across the field and mortar went off and got me in the arm. So,
Was that the largest ground battle since Korea? Operation Cedar Falls,
yeah, I think it is. Yeah,
Iron Triangle?
yeah, you're right. So,
And all the civilians were deported?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
What do you mean? You mean
They were relocated?
that I don't know.
Oh.
That I don't know.
Oh, there's another location you wanted to talk about. I asked you about the spelling. Was it Ben Phu?
Ben Phuc. Ben Phuc, Vietnam is, that's how we call it. Ben Phuc was out of, by My Toe. That's where we operated out of with the 9th Infantry. That was not our base camp, but that was our mission to go there. So that's the area that we were doing our recon and search and destroy. We did a lot of search and destroys. That was the thrust of what we did in Vietnam, was search and destroy. So we would go down here and look for the Viet Cong and dismount, go into the jungle, and just search and destroy.
Were all the troops who you treated U.S. troops?
Yeah, yeah. I didn't. We had ARVNs with us. We actually had some which Korean ROCs, I think. Yeah, they were really cool. But everybody I treated was just Army. Not by choice. I mean, that's basically all I did. I did do what they call Medcap. That's another truism. I think about us. Jeez. Part of being a good Army and we're trying to show the South Vietnamese how wonderful we are. I used to go into a village with 2 armed guards. But I'm going to this village, I don't know who's there. And then all of the ladies would bring their sick children to me. And 9 out of 10 of them all had ringworm in their head. Oh my God, rampant. So I would give them the medicine, and you do this to show your empathy towards them, and so we do that. But I'd go there alone with maybe 1 or 2 guys. And that was it. I'm like, wow, a little crazy. So we used to do, I think they were called Medcap or something like that.
You reminded me, I also was researching about the Filipinos who were at your base.
The Philippines were there.
Civil Action Group?
Yeah, I think it was Civil Action, yeah. Best part about the Koreans, they had great beer. They brought some beer in, I forget the name of it. Man, we would fight for that. We would fight for their beer. They would swap the beer for, everybody does a swap.
Of course.
But Tay Ninh was a big base, a very large base. I think it's still there today. I think only it's probably a city. There was a small city outside our gate called Tay Ninh, hence our name.
Right.
But it used to be an old tapioca plantation.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's where it was built, on a tapioca plantation.
And you were 12 kilometers from Cambodia.
Yes, we were. You did your homework. That's true.
Yes.
And we would sometimes sneak into Cambodia. Not sneak, we would go to Cambodia. How do you tell the difference? There was no little sign, welcome to Cambodia. But yeah, we went into Cambodia, even though the government said we'd never went to Cambodia. That's not quite true.
When you mentioned morale, I thought you would be talking about care packages from home or mail.
Well, when you're in base camp in Tay Ninh, biggest morale booster is a Class 6 store. Nobody knows what you know what a Class 6 store is? Mm-hmm. Okay. But Vietnam, you don't know what it is. It's alcohol. And when you were back in base camp, and we never really left Tay Ninh, we were at the hospital there. They would say Class 6 store is open, so you go there and you can get a bottle of, ours was I.W. Harper bourbon. And I started drinking bourbon and Cokes. Not on duty, but after you did a long stint at the hospital, the dispensary, you come back and have a couple of drinks. So that was probably the biggest morale booster. Yep.
Do any of your patients come back to you or are most memorable? The ones you treated? Like you said, it was gratifying work. You
Well,
must have.
the one emotional story, I hope it was my first. How do you say this? Your first baptism of fire. It was a wet night. I was probably the rookie. I was a rookie, we'll call it, because this was a mass casualty. They called us all out. Everybody get out. So we all ran, and we all had our litter stands. I had a litter stand, and I'm standing by the litter stand, and all of a sudden, as we call it, the train came in and plopped one in front of me, a person. So I'm there like, he was a crusty sergeant. I'm a kid, this is crusty sergeant. I go, Sarge, how you doing? I can't say this on video, can I?
Yeah, sure.
He goes, Doc, I shit in my pants. I said, Sarge, I probably would have too. I thought it was man-to-man talk. Well, he took a hit in his stomach, and his valves just let loose. He had a sucking chest wound. He was had morphine, big red M. The medic out there took care of him really well. So, and it was wet, and his poncho was soaking wet, his mud had all of the elements of, and I'm like, so I'm ready to open up this bag. He was in that bag, but he was there, and I got open up the plastic, it's wet. And I kept saying to myself, if you pass out, what the hell's he going to do? So I said, I can't let him down. So I opened up the bag, and all of a sudden, a book appeared in my brain. It was the weirdest thing, what to do. And it was the weirdest thing, you clean him up, you try to look at the AB pad that's holding his chest, his guts in, and everything. The doctor come over and say, okay, here's what to do. And then after that, it was a piece of cake for me. It was my baptism of blood or fire. But he was the most memorable. I thought I was going to be bad. I really did. I said, this is going to be bad. But I said, I couldn't let him down. It was a weird feeling. And after that, I kind of got into it. I volunteered to learn how to suture. And I felt it was really pretty cool, sewing up people, and they always would go, hey, Joe, come over here. Oh, yeah, 3/8 inch circle reverse needle. And I found it satisfying. I mean, not that he was hurt, but I felt satisfying that I could help him. So I did a fair amount of suturing, debriding of the skin. That means removal of all the burnt skin, and then try to get the bullet out. Used a long metal, you send it down, you boom until you feel the bullet down there, and then you start cutting and pulling. And it was a rewarding experience, if it makes sense, being a medic. And then when you're out in the field, the scary part of it is now I got a bunch of guys that I'm their man. And that's pressure. That's a pressure for a platoon field medic. You're the guy that they're all relying on. And you can't show emotion, you can't show cowardness. If you were a coward over there as a medic, I wouldn't be sitting here. That's probably a fact. I'm going out there getting shot, Doc, you gotta be with me. If you're not, we don't need you. And so you had to be there. Whether you wanted to be or not, you had to be there. And these guys they're relying on you for their life. So you do what you had to do. So that's my story.
Do you keep in touch with any of them?
I do. I had a real good guy. We still talk once in a while. Danny from Jersey City. We went through basic training. We went to Tainin together. He was a medic. He was like my blood brother. Danny and I were very close. We went R&R together in Taiwan. We were very close. And then when I split, I went to the 9th. Danny was pulled out because they did rotate medics every 6 months. They didn't want to, the guys out in the field, That's a rough business. So they took the field medics and brought them into the hospital, and the hospital medics out. I didn't know this. So when the old man told me to go down to the 9th, I thought, what did I do? I mean, screw up? I thought I was good. So I thought I was being singled out for a reason, but then I come to find out at the reunion that they were pulling all the medics out. Danny went to the 3rd or the 21st, and it's a natural rotation. So I felt a little better about myself. So Danny, and then there was Ron, and all these guys. So, 5 years ago or more, there was the 196 has got a web page and a group, and I belong to it loosely. Well, they had a reunion down at Daytona Beach. And I just said, we got to do it. Called Danny up, Carter from California, Ron from Ohio. And so we went down to Daytona and had a great time. My wife's over here shaking her head. She heard us. And the funny part of it is we're all in the bar, of course. You know, it was done at the hotel right on the beach. It was great. And the 196, we had a lot of people there, and they had all the medics. We all took a picture of the medics that were still around. And we're in the bar, and I'm sitting here drinking. We didn't overdo it, but we're drinking there. All of a sudden, this guy comes walking by, and I see a name tag. And it was Lester McLaughlin or something, but Lester. So I turn around and says, Lester? It can't be the same. He was the XO in Vietnam. He was the executive officer. He goes, Lester, he goes, hey! And he goes, I've been coming here for years trying to find you guys, and nobody ever showed up except this year from the 8th Medical Support Battalion. So we just had a good time with Lester and the rest of the medics. It was great.
And that was your 50th anniversary? 5 years ago, you would have been 71 or so.
Oh, no, it's probably more than that. It wasn't nothing to do with my anniversary. It was the 196's annual or semi, or how many years they do a reunion all over the country. They'll go to Gettysburg one year, and this time it was just down Daytona. And my wife and I both like Florida, and I said, Daytona Beach, let's do it. So I finally got these guys to buy in. A lot of them didn't. Carter came in from California. He was a wacko. And we had a good old time. And we just talked the old days, and you know, that's what you do. And all the ladies would say, okay, you guys, we'll see you later. We're gonna go and do our thing. It was, you know, it was like, let you guys just talk about the old days. So we did one reunion, and it was good. Anything else?
Did I ask you if you joined a veterans group? Well, you said Distinguished Order.
I belong to a
Military order.
loose-knit veterans group. Maybe 10 years ago. They're out by us in Glengar, New Jersey. Is a place, these guys called GenVac Veterans. Now, GenVac gets its name from a vacuum cleaner store on Route 31. And that's where vac and all. And it started with a bunch of guys going to the store. He was a Marine. And it's not a store, it was a very old house. It was a commercial building, we'll call it. And they would go for coffee. And guys got the word out, so it started getting, oh my God. On paper, they had over 100 members. But on the Tuesday, the motto was every Tuesday is, something like every Tuesday is Veterans Day or something. So we would go there every Tuesday for coffee and sandwiches and just kibitz. And so we did that I've been doing that for years and years. And then COVID hits, and there was not a lot of room inside. They would overflow to the outside. So I was on the board, and we were having a board meeting outside when COVID was going and spaced and all. And I just said, guys, we got to talk about what we're going to do. Now, up the road from us, very close, is a VFW post. Very nice post run by a new commander who's a really exciting man. Purple Heart, 2 Purple Hearts in Afghanistan and Iraq and all those wars. He said to me, you could come up here and meet. They have a beautiful hall, kitchen. So I sat there and I said, listen, I have an opportunity for us to go up there during the winter, you know, and then we'll see where we got. Well, it's taken off so well. We got, oh my God, every Tuesday, so many men up there now. They cook eggs, we cook eggs. Guys get free breakfast. We have a farmer for years who goes and donates eggs to us, and we come down with like, we sell a dozen of eggs for $1. So vets go there. So we've been doing that now, and it's turned out really nice. And we do scholarships. We had, in fact, Tuesday we had a young man from North Hunterdon High School come in and thank everybody for a scholarship we gave him. And we said a few words. And
How did you get started speaking at schools?
well, they were doing Voorhees High School, and all had big, I guess, Memorial Day day, and they wanted veterans to come up and talk. So who else can talk about veterans than us? So we would send up a bunch of guys and break out classrooms and talk about, you know, we have Navy guys there and Army and Marines. And so they would talk about different things and then ask questions. And the questions were really kind of amazing. You know, like, I started telling a story, it brings back a story about when you're flying into a base camp, when you're on a helicopter on a mission, you're out there, and that chopper's bringing you back, and we used to do that a lot, you see smoke rising. Well, that's a good sign. And you go, why is that? Because you weren't allowed to bury your poop in Vietnam. Think about that. Couldn't burn, you couldn't bury it. Where's it go? They burn it. They would ask for one guy from each outfit to be the burner, and you wouldn't have to go out in the bush. Now, none of us had said, I'd rather go out in the bush than do that, but one guy or two would do it. So they would take diesel, throw in some toilet paper, stir it around and light it, and they would burn the crap, the human waste, every day, 2 or 3. So when you come into the base camp in a helicopter, you're tired and you want to go to maybe take a shower and go to the bathroom. You see the smoke coming up, that's good, because in the outhouses, I don't know if this is proper talk, but in the outhouses, they would have the cans, 5 cans, 7 cans, and then they would take them out and put a new can in. So when the new cans are in, it's great. It's like an air freshener, if I may say so. So that was one thing. So we tell the kids politely about this story about, and the kid looked at you, the kid goes, what do you mean? So we try to tell the story, not so graphically. He says, you mean you didn't, what do you mean? You burned the, I said, yeah, you burned the poop. And you had one guy had to do it, yeah. So people don't realize that. And then if you're fortunate to get back in base camp for a day or two, you can take a shower. And how you do that is you had to bring your own water, open a 5-gallon can to the top and dump it into the top of the tank and then get under it and then take your shower. So, but you were happy to do that.
Oh, okay.
That was okay.
Did you come to have the shadow box with the medals in the photo?
I don't know. It seems about most veterans do that now. I don't know, it's somehow it kind of reminds you, and then my grandson comes over and he's like looking at it and he's saying, Grandpa, tell me, what is this and what is that? And so you try to explain to him, and you know, not to glorify with the war or anything. So you go over and say, oh, this is that, and I'll go, what's that? I said, that's a Purple Heart. And so we explain there, and this is your expert badge, and this is the one that if this young man's got a CIB, a Combat Infantry badge, this is what the medic gets. When you see the reef around it, that means it's under combat. So you could have a CIB with just that's a stretcher or a litter. That means you're a medic. With the reef around it means you were in combat. So that's a combat medical badge. And this is my outfit I went with was what's 196 Light Infantry Brigade, and then I eventually went over to the Cookie, which is the 9th Infantry.
So combat medic was changed to healthcare specialist to assist soldiers in obtaining civilian equivalency when comparing skills learned in the U.S. Army to their civilian counterparts. You had no interest in...
Well, when I came out, I could have went into what they call, I guess, LPN. LPN is it, which is a nurse, but
Right.
But this thing I tell my wife this. I'm a caring guy, but I'm not. If part of my tour when you're in the hospital is you got post-op, this post-op ward, okay? After you get all come out of the ER or whatever, you go into post-op, and that's where you get nurtured back, you know, you watch, and I did not like that. I like the action of the emergency room area. Go back there and you have to do temperature pulse respiration, TPRs, every hour on everybody. I didn't like doing that. I mean, I respect it hurt and I was there. But if you give me my choice, so I preferred to go back to the emergency room where I really got into testing my, what to do, and I got good at it. So then I'm thinking if I went to nursing or LPN, it's like almost the same, and it just wasn't me. So I never pursued it.
What did you end up doing?
I went into, I wound up at Exxon Research and Engineering Company, and I love Exxon Research. They were wonderful. I always had a mind for science, and I became a research technician. And I worked in the field of catalytic research. I eventually got 2 patents, co-patents. I became part of a Winnebago that we traveled all over the United States and tested tried to lower the SOx and NOx, which is nitrogen and sulfur emissions out of fossil fuel plants. So I'd spend a year out on the field, coming back in and all. And that's great. Then I moved over into human resources or public affairs, because I love doing that, meeting people. So I got into public affairs, and I really, really did well there. And then my son, I have a son and a daughter. My son, who's growing up, he's unbelievable. He's so intelligent. He got into the early stages of computing. We're talking early, IBM, XTs and all. And Exxon had 2 fields. They had IBM standards, and then actually we supported Macintosh. So Joey kept asking me questions about, I have a computer at home, and he's asking me, I don't know. So I kept going to the computing department, and my good friend was the head of the computing department. So I'm going back and forth, and so they said, listen, you're over here so much. How'd you like to work over here? So I go, really? So next thing I know, I transferred to computing, and I became a supervisor of desktop services, help desk services, and all of that. So I did, Exxon was just so wonderful. It just let you do what you wanted at the time. And I spent 30 years with them, and they merged with Mobil, and I was 55, and then they merged with Mobil, and then they started calling people in. And here I go, uh-oh. Well, Joe, we merged with Mobil, and we had a redundancy in your job, so therefore, we don't have a job for you. I go, oh. However, you're 55, and the Exxon's pension was 55 and 30 years. I had 29.9 years. Could you stay on for a while to finish this project? It got me to 30, get my 30 years. So I left with a pension. Then I went into selling real estate.
Good for you.
So I got into real estate, and I was pretty good at it. Living out in Hunterdon County, New Jersey is a beautiful place. People love it. So then my son went on, and I'm proud of him now. He works for the Department of Defense, works on new weapons. He can't tell me what he works on until it's declassified.
Good.
But he is unbelievable. He went to Virginia Tech, computer science degree, and the federal government just took the whole senior class. And he's been with the federal government since he graduated. So I'm very proud of him. And he's just, he always had a tendency for strong math. He always was brilliant in math, and he just excels in math. So he's there, works for the Department of Defense. One mission might be with the Marines, one's with the Navy, whoever he's outsourced to. So,
No?
Yeah, I'm not sure how
Do you have any questions?
No, I guess you talk, you had some diverse experiences in the military, but it seems like you just like any type of military experience, there's things you love and things you hate, and you talk kind of about your experience with Exxon. That you spoke glowingly of them. What would you say that your overall experience? Like, do you look back kind of positively at your service?
Yes and no. I loved the Army when I was in the States. I would contemplate staying. I would have probably stayed. But going to Vietnam, to a war that, let's be honest, really has some serious flaws, major flaws than I ever want to imagine. And that trepidation made me feel, no, I would never stay in the service. I would have. I mean, I went to I came out as a Spec 5, which was equivalent to an E5, which is pretty fast for 2 years, but in Vietnam they were promoting people quickly. And then into a guard unit, and I became an E6, and I actually became a platoon sergeant. Now I'm a medic. But it
You
was
joined the National Guard?
Yeah.
Oh, we didn't get that.
I was in the National Guard in Elizabeth, New Jersey. It was a medical outfit. And it was kind of, it was, these guys, to be honest, were in there for one reason. Back in Vietnam times, you were in the Guard, you were not going to the Vietnam. So everybody that you knew, they knew, would run to the National Guard and join the National Guard just to avoid going to Vietnam. That's the way it was. Then the draft. I was drafted in an extremely unfair system. Now, I'm going to say that now. It was extremely unfair because Billy over here ran out and got married. Everybody knew a doctor that got him a 4F deferment. So there were more people that could have gotten out of Vietnam than, should have. It was amazing. So to me, the draft was, I think, an unfair system. But I got drafted. I can't look back. And but I liked the Army up to the stateside. I would have probably stayed. I think I would have stayed because I had it made. It was like going to work every day and coming back. It was good duty. But then when I got to Vietnam, and now I look back at it, come on, 58,000 plus people. Justify it, please, somebody. I can't. So I can't justify what happened. And I can't, I directly did not kill anybody. I'll say that now. So if I did, I don't know how I'd feel today. I mean, that was what happens in war. I felt good. Now I can sit back and say I was glad I was a medic because I felt I did something positive. And, that's how I feel. But I could never look back at the service, and go to war. That was, to me, a totally unjust war. And that's my feelings. And I'm sorry if you don't agree. But,
How did you end up in the New Jersey Army National Guard, was it?
well, I was out for about a year, and somebody talked me into it. I don't know why. They say, yeah. So I went in there, and here's another story. Okay, now Vietnam's winding down, and these guys that were in the Guard were there for one reason. Now they felt, oh my God, I'm trapped. I didn't want to be here. So I'd have a platoon of guys. We'd go to formation. I'd turn it around and say, okay, give them what they have to do. They're gone. They're scattered. They're scattered. They're all going to the motor pool hanging out. And I go, what are you guys doing here? And they was like, come on, Sarge, this ain't real. And I'm like, oh. I said, this happened. So I went into the old man. I said, this ain't working. This isn't working. He goes, you went to Vietnam. It's a different army and all. He says, trust me, just go home. You're done. So they let me out. They just let me out of the Guard. I did whatever. But so I don't really talk about much of my Guard duty in National Guard because it was good. But that's that was the way it was then.
Right.
That's what it was doing. People, if you knew people were just getting married, because you could get a deferment on marriage. You could get it with the call 4F deferment, or if you get you have bone spurs, if you know what I mean. You didn't have to go to the service. So how fair was that?
The ones who adjusted the best, after combat, were either married or they stayed in for that regimentation that you were describing. And I understand now why you said you tried the Guard, because... that worked for you to help you, the
Yeah.
way you were not welcomed home, the way you were not welcomed
Oh my
into
God!
college.
Yeah, no. You were not. You never spoke. I didn't speak about Vietnam probably for about 20, 30 plus years, 30 years. Never spoke. People didn't even know I was in Vietnam. Never said it.
When your kids were in school, did you start?
Well, then it was different then. But you know, you didn't do that. You didn't wear a hat with a patch on it like I wear now. I do this for one reason: look for other fellows. You know, I don't do this because I'm a veteran. I look for guys. We were in the airport. One guy, he's wearing a hat. I went, hey, you know, we talked and we talked. That's why we wear a hat like that. But I don't know. I just never talked about it. I kept it down. I just never discussed it.
And how do you feel now that you have opened up? And how do you feel today that you've told so much? Is this the most you've ever talked?
Probably. I'd go in front of class and talk a little bit about it, but never much to detail. I mean, you can't get into too much detail with the younger kids. You know, when you were with your fellow veterans, you could talk and kid around a lot, but yeah, you don't really dig down deep. You don't really share your emotions with a fellow vet. You don't want to do that. Especially some of them Marines and they think they're walk on water. Excuse me for you Marines. You know, and but it's okay to talk about it, but it still lives with me.
Of course. Of course.
I think of it often. And I think of the injustice that bothers me more, the injustice. I can't justify it. I go to the wall in Washington and that's wicked, that's hard to do. Very hard to do the wall in Washington.
What about the one in Homedale?
It's the same, you know, I don't really like getting too deep with this stuff. It really doesn't help me.
Right.
You know, some people like to talk about it a lot more. I try not to. I try to think of the humorous parts of it.
That's good.
There was some good times in Vietnam. There were some good times with the guys and all, but yeah, you look at the horror of it, you know. So that's it. Anything else?
Outstanding job. Joe, I just want to say that we're honored and humbled that you're here today to speak to us of your sacrifice and your contribution that you made in service to this country. And thank you, Joe, and God bless you.
Thank you.
Welcome home.
Thank you very much. I say that to everybody I meet. Welcome home. When I meet a vet for the first time. Yep. Okay.
All right, good.
Thank you. New Jersey Vietnam Service Medal?
Yep. That's up there.
Oh, is that the green and yellow one?
That's this one here, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this is, when you go to Vietnam, you automatically will say you get this one and this one, this one. This here is a unit citation of the from Vietnamese government to the 9th Infantry, my unit.
That's really different. Yeah, I've never
that's
seen that
the,
one.
Yeah, and this, of course, is Purple Heart. All of these, but probably the most proud one I have is the CMB, Combat Medical Badge.
Wait, is my intro on there? If I wasn't mic'd? Do you have the date on there and his name? Does he have to say?
We'll be able to pick it up, and
Okay.
if not, then I had backup audio
Oh, okay,
on this going.
All right, so here's a summary, exit. It's been a year and a half since I've done this, even though I've done it 20 years. All right, so this is an exit survey. It just talks about today and how you feel about today. If you want to mail it, you can, or you can just do it now.
Could I take it home and mail it to you? Would that be
Yes,
okay?
of course. And then this is,
Trying to give him homework.
That's okay,
I love giving homework.
That's
Homework's
okay.
easy, Mom.
You want to add some of those stories you forgot that I remember?
Oh, I forgot to ask you if you had anything.
No, I'm listening. I know there's
What's-
a couple of stories that you forgot.
Which ones?
Oh, it was the one that,
Oh, about the
grenade with the guy in the tree,
oh God.
right?
Oh God.
That is a little, it's like a
Very
learning lesson
graphic.
we would teach the
It
kids.
was on right off.
Because they.
And that was a time, were you off camera?
Yes, we're all.
Do you want?
He
I,
said-
No,
I have to go
There
in.
was a time.
I can
one of
take
the
it
most-
off.
One of the most terrifying, not terrifying, this is true story.
Do you want it on there?
Oh, I don't know.
I don't know.
We can cut it out if that's.
It's about almost it was actually I call it a war crime that I saw, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
We were on an APC, and I was with the old man. He loved me around there. He didn't want me to wander because he was, I guess, afraid of getting hurt. And we came on this village, and they just started opening fire for no reason. Prior to this, we had Zippo tracks. Zippo tracks flyers, napalm. Well, I got there the week they said, the government said, no more napalm. You're burning down the whole freaking town. So we didn't have napalm, thank God, because that already built. So we go into this village, and people in this hut, this one old guy goes running out. He's running across the field. True story, swear to God. They open up and they get him, and they shoot him, and he falls down, and he goes into like a ditch. And he's an old man. This is just like the movies. Pull up with the APC, and there he is in the air. So I jump out, and I run down there, and he sees me, and he starts yelling, Bassi, Bassi, which is French for doctor. Bassi. So I go, okay. His leg was like, he cut it and just pulled it out, and everything was hanging out. Here he is there. So I said, so I'm kind of like, so the old man gets up just like a movie. How is he, Doc? I said, I think we could, you know, you get me some help here, I could take care of him. He goes, you know, Doc, I don't like to take wounded prisoners. You had to bring that one up. So he goes, why don't you finish him for me? Finish him. True story. It's a true story. The time I had an M16, I got rid of it because I couldn't go across the rivers because I was carrying my aid bag. I'd carry some law, which is the law, you know, so everybody had to carry stuff.
M72. Yep.
Yeah. So I carried a 45. I got traded in for a 45 shoulder holster. Loved it. So he goes, finish him. So you just do, you know, I take the gun out and I cock it and I put it to his head. True. He looks at me and he gives me that look. Holy crap, what are you doing? This is what you, I put it back in there. I go, I can't do that and you can't, and I said to him, you can't make me do that. He knew I had him. The second lieutenant, riding in there, starch outfit. He gets up, brings up his M16 and just destroys this man. You can see the body lift and go down. And I can't believe this happened. That's a true story. But I didn't want to go on record on that. But that's true.
That wasn't the one I was talking about, with the grenade hanging from
Oh,
the
gosh.
tree.
The grenade.
And the guy couldn't throw it.
We're out there, we're taking a break. We're out there, we all sit down. Viet Cong was pretty intelligent for what they were. They would take the hand grenades and take out, they take out, the hand grenade has a fuse that runs down the middle. So she slaps and the fuse goes, boom. They take out the fuse, put it back together, and they hang them from trees, just like ornaments, with the anticipation of a helicopter coming down to get us. They put it around the field. The wash of the helicopter would come down, drop the grenades, and boom, 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 blow up the helicopter. So this one guy's there, and he sees one hanging, grabs it. And they would wrap the handle down with light twines. That's what prevents it from going off. So he grabs it, and we're going, stop it. Stop it, don't do it. He goes, no, I can throw it. We're all begging him not to do it. Don't. Give me it, we could wrap. I'll do it. He goes to do it, he throws it. The minute he lets go, boom. He goes to the ground, he's laying down, I run over there, and his arm is totally gone. Totally gone. The heat of the explosion fused the blood. Not bleeding. He's crying. I felt no pain for him. I just said, you stupid. This is off, right?
It is on, sir, but it's.
I just said to him, I said, you
It's
stupid bastard. Everybody, you stupid bastard. We brought a helicopter in, I had to fly him home. He's laying on the ground, he's laying on the floor. Doors are always open on chopper. He's laying on there and I'm sitting there just looking at him and he's crying and crying and I covered him all up, but just, God, Jesus, why did he do that? That's, everybody there just said, I didn't have to do that, but he thought he could throw that thing and he fell, when he went down, he was laying down on it. And I said, oh my God, so I rolled him over and there was nothing there. So it felt like, you felt like, I didn't know what to say. He just said, you stupid bastard. And today, he's walking around with a prosthetic probably from the veterans, and I don't begrudge that. I'm saying, it didn't have to be.
Right.
That's so very true.
Can I ask another question off of that?
Sure.
In your opinion, as a draftee and a conscript, did you find that there were, I don't know, smarter people than I've talked about, McNamara's morons, they called it. Some of the guys in there weren't, the guys that, like you talked about, weren't able to get their way out. You got what was left.
We were
kind of.
saying, we were like, well, this is on, isn't it?
I'll turn it off.
So, and then, if you're a medic, you always went to the front of the line for food, because the food line went up at the ship. Medic got dispensary duty, medic, so I go right to the front and get my food. So that was some benefits. So now we're there. All right, men, we're landed in the Vong Tau. So we're all on top of the deck. Oh my God, there it is. In the mountains, you can see boof, boof, and we're like, you remember, you're 19 years old. You're like crapping in your pants. So the next day, they come down and says, all right, give me all your money, because you're not allowed American money in Vietnam, because it was black market. So they give you what they call MPC, military pay currency, a little equivalent, but it's in military. Can't use it, China can't take it and do with it. That's where they were supposed to be taking the money. So they take the money, and then they give us live ammunition. Oh, are you serious? Live ammunition? So we all had M16s. I didn't have my 45 until I was down in Delta. At the time, I must have weighed 110 pounds, 120 pounds. I was skinny. Carrying this bag up. And now, all right, where are we? All of a sudden, they go, get to the side. We go to the side, and that, just like World War II, these little things are floating around, these landing crafts. Oh, what the hell? Okay. So I took the bag, dropped it down, boom. Going down this stupid thing, but nobody tells you that the boat's going up and down, the little boat. So just when I thought I had my foot down there, the boat goes down, I'd fall down. So, okay, I'm in the boat. Now, we're all going out, and all of a sudden the guy, whoever there goes, all right, lock and load. I go, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Lock and load. All I had was pictures of World War II, of, the landings, Iwo Jima. And I'm going like, this isn't happening to me. So now I'm with these bunch of guys, the front thing that drops, we're locked and loaded. I said, this is it, the end of me. We pull up on the shoreline, the thing comes down, I come out, and all of a sudden there's a 25th Army band going, dee, 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 dee. And I'm walking out, are you kidding? Then here's somebody go, everybody knew my name, Joe. Hey, Joe, Coke? Joe was the name they used to call you. Coke here, Coca-Cola here, they're selling Coca-Cola. And I'm like, this is my land in Vietnam. I swear to God, I couldn't believe it. I'm like, I'm expecting a machine gun fire, and this is it. She likes that story.
Got his joke on you.
They drove. So then we marched in, we went onto these big Chinook helicopters and flew out to Tainan, and they dropped us in this field, took off, and it was nothing around us. Nothing around us. It was just quiet. And we're all like looking like, ooh. Start digging. So we start digging foxhole holes and filling sandbags. And so that's what we did until we built our hospital and all. But that's a funny story. Mm-hmm. Hey, Joe. I never hear you yelling, hey, Joe. I said, what? And they called everybody over Joe. G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
So that's my story.
Well, I'm sure there are more.
Oh, they try to get me to do what you do, jump out of a plane.
Yeah.
We need some paramedics. I go, paramedic, what's that? He goes, hey, we need medics that jump out of planes. You jump out of a good plane, me? Do I have to? No. I said, no thanks. No, I won't do that.
That's the one story about the 82nd, they had 3rd Brigade was over there, or what is now 3rd Brigade, and they lost their jump status because they had so many, because it wasn't the actual.
Are you going to talk about the jump?
Oh no, I wasn't going to talk about the jump.
You know they jumped in the jungle, you know that.
The 508th?
I forget, this has been documented.
Oh,
There was
look at
a
that.
jump, someone did an airborne jump in Vietnam.
Mm-hmm.
And it was when I was in Tay Ninh, so that had to be
Yeah.
in 1960,
They were paratroopers.
66.
Because I know
And-
173 was there, but they're mostly,
Was it Sky Soldiers?
yes,
What-
yeah, 173 is Sky Soldiers.
They jumped, and I think, if I know, you probably know better, you normally would have a 10% casualty in a regular jump or something. I mean, the casualties that existed on this jump was unbelievable. Unbelievable. When these choppers were coming in with the dead, they were stacked. Yeah. I could not believe somebody would try to do a jump in Vietnam. And there's a lot of stories of why, and I don't know which one is true, and I won't get into it. But
It was Operation Cedar Falls, January 67. Iron Triangle.
67, no, the jump took place when I was in Tay Ninh, and I left Tay Ninh Christmas of 66.
Yeah.
So it was somewhere in 66, because I was
Wow.
there, that was, not a good time. And I don't think they ever did another one since, I don't think so. But if you want to do your homework and try something, I'm telling you, there was a jump that took place in that last half of the year in 66 in Vietnam, and it just failed miserably. But that's history.
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
Yeah, but I think we were,
Yeah.
you, the 82nd, which you were with,
oh, yeah.
you were in Santo Domingo.
Yeah, so my old battalion, the 2504, well, all the 504th was in the Dominican in 65, and so it was 3rd Brigade, it was 508th and 501st. They were in. I mean, they were in, but like how how it worked, that the headquarters went over there, and then it was just replacement soldiers. So they weren't even, most of the guys that eventually ended up over there, because they were there for, I think, what, 34 months or something like that. No one was jump qualified after the first after the first run, so they weren't even an airborne unit at that point.
That's who we were scheduled to replace.
Yeah.
In Santo Domingo was the 82nd. And then when whoever was in charge of the government said, no more, U.S. troops, get out. And then all of a sudden we're sitting in Boston Army Hospital with 2 ships loaded, going nowhere. And Johnson, he wanted to bring the troop strength up to 300,000 when we went over. So that's how that happened. But Mom just told my mom, we're going to be on the beach with a hospital tank. It's going to be unbelievable. That bit me.
I think there were stories of guys getting in some hairy situations down there, but certainly nothing compares to that. Yeah.
We're going through the Panama Canal. You kind of a humorous story, but we're going through the Panama Canal. It's on your way to over. And it takes a long time to go to the canal because they have to float the different, and all of a sudden some of the guys, probably Army, were stationed there. They're coming down there saying, have a good time, guys. See you, suckers. And I'm like, oh. And then you find out all of the guys, usually the old crusty guys that were with the outfit, who drink because they start getting the DTs. Because they don't have alcohol.
All right.
So now you're on the ship where we're 30 days, and now they're getting DTs.
They're really sick, yeah.
Oh yeah, we had to put them in cells, in actually like a brick, because they would go crazy, and we had you there, and it was pretty bad. You see these guys, these little sergeants. That's true. But so we went over on those little ships. We had the crossing the equator parties and all that. They try to make it fun. They try to make it fun for you, but it was trying to eat. Trying to eat on a ship like that is unbelievable because the ship's got this long plank, and you're sitting there, and it's got a little lip. So you got your tray there, and also you don't touch it. Goes over to the next guy. He gets it back to me. Then goes over to this guy. So your tray is moving back and forth. Oh, then the famous bathroom story.
More bathroom stories.
Well, how do I do this? On the true carrier back then, the ship, the latrine was a long piece of whatever, and it had pots. And there's no modesty in the Army or any service, so you sit there and, hey, how you doing, Bob? You know, you sit there, it's the way it is. And there's a stream of water that runs through it, and it's kind of clean. I mean, the water's running under you, so that's it. But you get one guy who's a wise guy, he goes way at the beginning and he takes a roll of toilet paper and lights it. And he floats it down. So you're sitting there and the guy goes, guys, you know, that's shipboard humor, but you had to laugh. Never got me because I've seen these other guys jump and I get up.
Watch out for it, yeah.
But that's a true story.
Yeah.
Well, I hope I had some humorous stories for you too.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah. All that good stuff.
Thank you again for
Yeah.
coming, Joe.
Thank you, sir.
You're more than welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Incredible story.